Welcome to the final part of Gravity Rush. So after we beat the God Monster, there's more bosses to do. Hooray!
I was about to say Necron, but
This is a little bit less out of nowhere than Necron, at the very least. Like, I mean, it's a mess, don't get me wrong, but at the very least, he didn't literally come out of nowhere.
By the way, we got on a Sonic 06 tangent earlier this recording session. We like Siblis.
oh boy, no. So like, okay, the Japanese have this fetish for transformations that I'll never completely understand, but also just in general, video games do have like a certain sense of obligation to have a certain kind of final confrontation that I notice appears more often in this kind of game than in others.
Well,
This is a transformation? I got this. This was a completely different entity.
no, it
No,
like
it has the deer antler thing, so it's like his guardian thing.
Oh.
so. I mean, the final boss should feel like an event. I do agree. Like, it should feel like it's capping off the game, which is frustrating because this game has had like 3 different bosses that could feel like the final boss. One of them, they
Yes.
even played the credits right after. So
2 of them, actually.
yeah. So, I mean, I don't think that the final boss necessarily needs to be like really big and way like this. I don't think that every boss needs to be
Oh,
like
yeah.
huge and imposing. Like,
So,
I know that Devil May Cry 3, like, the final fight's against Virgil, and it's like a normal, like, he's normal sized, right?
yeah, he's
Which
just like a
was,
really vicious rival enemy. Yeah.
like, that
And
can work.
Devil May Cry 5 does the same kind of thing. DMC Devil May Cry tried to do the same kind of thing, but didn't build it up well and didn't have as much mechanical satisfaction within the fight itself. So, um, I will say that that kind of boss has to be done really well to work.
It just
So,
has to fit thematically as well, I guess, is the thing. Like, I don't think that this is as good of a final boss necessarily because, like, I mean, I guess this is supposed to be something like, Cat's past or whatever, but we've spent so little time focusing on that it doesn't
well,
have
here's
the narrative oomph going for it.
here's the thing. Okay, we have a gameplay system that, as we've established, isn't quite tuned in a way that would make a rival battle satisfying, and our final enemy is um, someone else who has one of those stupid gravity shifter animals. So they could have been a rival, but the gameplay doesn't really work for that. So they had to do a big ass monster instead. And, well, if it were at the end of its own game, I suppose this would work better, but we've already been down this road like
We've ended this game like 4 times already.
yeah, we've been down the giant final boss monster road 4 times, and it's getting a bit old. So yeah, giant demon antler man is not particularly compelling. It also doesn't help that it's visually not as interesting as the previous final bosses. So
Yeah, like the robot, even at the end of the, I forget the other town's name, arc, I think looked more interesting because this looks kind of just like every other enemy, but
the,
with antlers.
the robot and the giant, tumor mutant thing that Callie Angel became were both infinitely more interesting than giant antler demon guy with glowing eyeballs all over. This feels like a step back to what you would expect from a final boss of Gravity Rush 1. Really. So,
It's a shame though that the game seemingly loses so much steam at the second half, though, or third, third.
yeah, final third. I mean, it's okay. It's not the first game. It's not the first really good game to ever do that either. I brought it up before, but Xenogears has that issue.
A lot of RPGs falter towards the end of the game. Like,
Yeah.
that's one of my big issues with Dragon Quest VIII is that the pacing falls actually off a cliff once you get 2/3 of the way through that game.
Like there's an actual cutscene where your characters fall off a cliff, and that marks the point where the game design gets worse, or something. Is the way you said that.
I don't think they actually fall off a cliff, but the pacing certainly does.
It's just the way.
I mean, that's also, we could talk about PS2 era RPGs with bad endgame pacing all day. It's a very common problem for RPGs of that time period, is that they didn't know how to end, because games were expected to be longer, but they didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, gamers now expect 80-hour RPGs, but we only have enough gameplay for 40.
For a 50-hour.
Okay, we'll stretch it to 60 and then make up some crap for the last 20. We got a game to make here, people.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Huh.
Anybody got any good tangents?
Nope. I will defeat you, Eagless Trigger.
The other thing, though, is that the way bosses are worked into JRPGs has a tendency to be different than the way final bosses are worked into Western RPGs. And I'm not talking games like fucking Oblivion, which I don't know why Bethesda does this, but their conclusion was on complete autopilot. And it's like, yeah, for the next hour, this isn't your story, it's this other guy's story, and you're kind of following him around.
Was Oblivion the one where the final boss just kind of stands there and you can kill him mid-cutscene?
Oh, that was me, because I was on easy mode by that point, because the level up
okay.
balancing in Oblivion is fucking obnoxious. But
okay.
But like I I swung my sword at him while he was monologuing at me and killed him in one swipe. It was kind of funny. But,
I mean, it's cathartic to be able to actually do that to a villain mid speech, I will say.
But like, okay, in Western RPGs, the final boss has a tendency to be, I want to say, more sensible overall. Like, in a JRPG, more often than not, you have this obligation to have the final boss transform into some kind of god monster. Like, specifically, the bad guy of the game themselves has to transform into a god monster and confront you. It's expected. Whereas in a game like Mass Effect 2, you're more likely to be trying to rescue people from a Reaper stronghold, and you find at the very last second that the reason that they were kidnapping people was to build a Reaper, out of their genetic material, and you have to fight like the half-constructed skeleton of that Reaper and kill it. And it's not like there's this villain who's been following you through the game who transformed into something big. It's a giant robot you found out about 2 seconds ago that ties up the plot that you were following up until that point, and that's your final boss. And then in Mass Effect 3, they thought about having the elusive man transform into a monster behemoth thing like Saren did, but realized it was too hokey and just had you talk to him. And that was enough, because you just got done with this whole epic battle scene 5 minutes before, and that felt fine for a final confrontation. So, yeah. It worked. And
I mean, it does, like, on a visceral level, it does make sense that you want to actually be fighting the person who's causing the conflict,
yeah.
I suppose. But I do agree in that it doesn't always have to be, you know, like, that person transformed into a giant spaghetti monster. It could be, you know, like, their creation, or maybe, like, you know, you fight them. I mean, I'm not a writer. I don't know what you could do instead. But I get it from the sense that if Jeremy is the guy causing the problem, then it makes sense that the final fight should be against Jeremy. And by law of video games, we want the fight to be big and flashy and stupid. So making him turn into a giant angel with spaghetti limbs usually works.
Yeah.
You know?
And, you know, sometimes that is the way to end a story. If you're going to fight your way to the top of a giant tower to confront the evil wizard, then it is really unsatisfying to have that evil wizard just be an old man that you can kill effortlessly, or choose not to kill effortlessly, and then Reaver kills him for you because choice is meaningless. God damn it, Fable 2. But
Did Peter Molyneux hurt you?
yes,
Lewis?
Peter Molyneux hurt me terribly. But yeah. So, okay, yeah. In Fable 2, you spend this entire game basically lusting for revenge against Lucien because he shoots your sister in front of you. And by the time you grow up to fight Lucien, because this all happens when you're a kid, by the time you grow up to fight Lucien, he's gone gray and he's an old man. And he's trying to construct this tower so that he can, like, bring his wife back or something. I forget what it was. He's trying to construct this tower that will grant wishes. And you have to beat him inside the tower. And the entire thing happens in this, like, cutscene mode.
Oh wait, she can just do that now?
I guess.
Why didn't you do that earlier?
I know, right?
It's not gonna work.
Yeah, that would have been really helpful. Maybe against, like, the giant electric people that were attacking us 20 minutes ago?
Oh, yeah, that would have been helpful. Very helpful.
Ow!
I'm gonna boop you in the eye.
Cut that out.
Boop.
She left the giant fuck me leg exposed.
Wait, but Raven's not here. We can't do our ultimate Sailor Moon attack without Raven.
We'll do it ourselves.
But it's just not the same.
The hero has to fight the villain alone. That's how it goes, right? Isn't it?
Yep.
We can't ever have the hero cooperating with someone. Well, unless it's a JRPG, in which case, yeah.
Friendship is power.
Yeah, and the true meaning of friendship was the giant aliens we destroyed along the... Oh, god damn it! This boss fight's already been going on for too long. Like, I was going to mention... This boss fight has been dragging.
If it broke out of an encasement of crystal shards like that, it should have shredded its own flesh on the way out. I'm just saying. That's the way shattering glass works.
Oh no, Dusty!
Dusty will be back.
Bitch, please.
Ouch.
This thing sure has...
We've gotten ourselves into a bit of a problem now, haven't we?
This thing sure has a lot of inexplicable stopping power for something that's only, let me think, 1/4 of the size of the previous two final bosses?
He might be bigger, but he just doesn't feel like moving his legs.
Loading.
Oh no, is this gonna be one of those, like...
Oh, it's the Shire, it's burning.
No, not quite.
Is this gonna be like one of those endings that's like uselessly, simultaneously unhappy and like doesn't tell you what the hell's going on either? Like Final Fantasy 15?
Everything that has a beginning has an end, cat.
Not One Piece.
Cause like...
Then Smith explodes.
I'm having flashbacks.
What do you mean, Mr. Anderson? It's the year 21 whatever, and Oda is still in his room making chapters.
I'm having flashbacks to
fair.
about 3 different endings that all end in darkness and ambiguousness and make me wonder what I was doing the previous 16 hours.
Who would Smith's favorite One Piece crew member be?
No, he'd probably be like a Mihawk fan. He wants to be overpowered.
Is he trying to tempt you?
I mean, basically.
Why?
Do it! Share half the world with the Demon Lord! Come on, do it!
No.
Oh.
I will not give up my marriage so Aunt May can live an extra year or two.
This is like that alternate ending in Persona 5 where you can actually make a deal with the bad guy.
Yeah, that goes back to the original Dragon Quest where you get down there and the Dragon Lord's like, yo, dude, team up with me. And then you can say yes. And then, depending on the version of the game, different things happen. Like, I believe the game, like, just straight up freezes in the original Japanese. And in other
I think
versions,
one of the Streets of Rages do that too, or if you're playing to co-op, and if one of you agrees to be like the bad guy's henchman, you fight each other.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Although one of my favorite things about the first Dragon Quest Builders is it's an alternate universe, like what if story if the hero actually did agree to his deal, which is pretty clever, I think.
So,
Wait, so did we win or did we not win?
No, everyone's just now bahoo-dooring.
Oh, okay, because friendship is the real friend we made along the way.
I think you mixed up your sayings a little there.
I don't think we did.
No, I think like friendship is magic, and the real treasure is the friend you made along the way, or something like that. Like,
Yeah, but I think that friendship is the friends we made along the way is also technically a true statement.
it is a true statement,
First rule
but
of
it's still.
The first rule of Tautology Club is the first rule of Tautology Club.
Okay.
Oh, they are Yahoo Dorying. You're right.
Yeah.
And Kat's heart grew 3 sizes that day, which is kind of terrifying because her heart was already too big, and it exploded the entire top half of her body. And oh my God, Sid is alive.
What anime clip are you cutting in here? Because
I'm not. This is the audio.
Oh, I thought it sounded like you cut in some anime clip.
Nope.
I couldn't.
No, this is the audio.
Aren't you
No,
dead?
No, he said none of that. Shame on you. I heard that.
Oh, I did? Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
What did he say?
Oh, I must have included the DBZ abridged. No, none of that. Shame on you. Again, it's been so long since I've edited
Legit
this.
though, I thought for fucking sure you edited the Grinch song.
So Sid was dead, and then they brought him back to life, and then he was dead again,
And then he was Alias.
and so now he's neither Alias nor dead.
Well, thinking about it, we never actually saw or actually heard of his new self, his bumbling detective self, dying, so maybe...
Well, he was in the Tetris Void.
Well, yeah,
But I guess that could have been.
But, like, that was probably, like,
Sid.
the ghost, and this is reincarnation, who's a completely different person, maybe? I don't know. Oh, no,
But he also died, or I don't know.
we've gone Super Saiyan.
Oh,
Oh,
see,
I'm Super Saiyan God because it's red.
Raven is going to help us because she's like our other half or something. Oh, duh. Okay. Oh, we're Griffin. Oh, okay. That's actually pretty cool.
Army of cats and birds.
We're gonna die.
Yes.
Okay, so we're just...
You may have one really powerful guardian, but I have two.
So we're
fuck
just
you.
gonna finish the boss off with shonen bullshit. Okay.
Yep.
Alright.
I thought that, if you're going to go that far, at least have an actual last form. I know I said earlier in this part that the boss had already gone on for too long, but you cockblocked me.
Okay.
Time to go ride Shenron into the sunset.
So wait, does the land above the beanstalk still exist?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to go be queen up there now?
Nope, we're going into that void thing that's going to swallow up the world. And stop it.
Oh,
So
okay.
she's sacrificing herself.
Yep.
Cool.
So we're becoming a black hole to seal the void within a void,
Wait, no, this is when the cat we have is supposed to come out of our hat and wave at us goodbye and jump in there and stop the black hole instead. And then we wake up with no memory of what's going on and we decide to have the same plot all over again, except that Alias is 12 feet tall now for some reason.
Aw. That ending was not good. I'm just gonna say.
It could be good. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think that's the frustrating thing about this is that these are all really cool ideas that would be great if they had time to flesh out in their own full game.
Like every cutscene in the in the portion of the plot before this portion of the plot should have been twice as long, and every cutscene in this portion of the plot should have had 2 more cutscenes attached to it and should have been twice as long. So
Like, this whole post-game section could have been Gravity Rush 4, honestly.
Yeah, basically.
So, it's just frustrating when you see the missed potential, and when more isn't always better. Because I kind of do think that if they had not done anything like past, like if they had not even had anything in the Hexville portion onward, this probably would have been a better game. Well, maybe not a better like gameplay game, but a better story for sure. But I guess they just really didn't think that they could, get their story told. So I understand why they wanted to push as much in as possible just so that it's out there if you never think you're going to make another one again. But still, it's just, I really wish that, we ended up with the full version
and
of
so
this story.
so we end here with Raven
this
taking
version.
over Cat's position as protector of the city, huh?
Yep.
Which I think also could be a good way to end.
If we had more time
The series as
if
well.
we had more time to get to know Raven, yeah.
Well, I think we get to know her well enough in terms of character. Like, I think her character's fleshed out. I think it's just she doesn't have a lot to do plot-wise in this game. Like, we have the scene where she's, like, brainwashed
I like this.
at the beginning.
I like this moment where like this guy's saying, "Hey, you shouldn't be spending the rest of your life fighting crime. Go take a break." So maybe Raven is getting a bit overly intense about this. That's a nice moment because like in a theoretical alternate version of this game where we had time to really let that ending like develop and then cook in our brain, we'd probably be feeling somewhat on the same wavelength as Raven here. I do like this.
I also like that they're playable credits and not just credits or cutscene credits.
Well, yeah, that's what I was about to say. I like this interactive ending. Like, this is clearly one of the better ideas that they had for this part of the story, and probably so far the most effective one.
I just like playable credits in general. Like, even simple stuff like the Super Monkey Ball credits, where you have to, like, dodge the letters of the credits as they're, like, rolling past and stuff like that. Like, anything that makes it feel like you should stay there and actually appreciate the names of the people who worked on the game, as opposed to staring on your phone while you're waiting for the music to end and then seeing if there's any post-game stuff.
Uh-huh. This also kind of somewhat evokes the feeling of the end of a Persona game to me, where the last thing you usually do at the end of the game is go around the city talking to all the people that you met along the way and finding out where they are at the end by learning about their day, which has become sort of a tradition in Persona games. Despite the fact that there was a very deliberate story reason for it happening the first time it happened. But they just kept doing it after that.
What was that? Was that in the first Persona?
Well,
or like
no,
the third
Persona
one?
3. It's fairly well known at this point because every game after this has spoiled it in some capacity. But at the end of Persona 3, your protagonist uses up all their spirit energy to seal away the big bad, and they have like a very limited amount of time to live after that. So at the end, right before they die, they go around and talk to all their social links and basically give them a not so direct goodbye before passing on. And it was touching, if oblique. The entire story of Persona 3 is a bit overly vague for its own good, to be honest, but it was a nice moment. But yeah, 4 and 5 just both did the same thing and worked it in different ways. Like, in Persona 4, there's a true ending that's kind of, like, annoyingly secret, and the ending part of the ending that's supposed to feel like Persona 3's ending is a misdirect to make you think the game is over, so that you don't go looking for the true ending. So that's a thing.
That's clever, at least.
It's like you're supposed to like. There's a point in the game where it's like, "Are you done talking to everybody?" And you're supposed to say no like twice, and you can get into the final dungeon then. So it was clever there. In Persona 5, there is a slightly different reason for it, and that's because, well, I wouldn't want to. Well, come to think of it, is the ending even the same in Royal? I don't know. Huh.
We don't know, so best
Best
not
not to talk about it. There was a
say.
different reason for it in 5, though.
They might change some stuff too, because I know that in the Vita version of Persona 4, they changed a lot of stuff in the story.
Yeah.
And some people didn't like.
Yeah,
the
basically,
stuff that
most of the stuff they changed in the story were in service of shoehorning Marie into the plot.
Was she playable, or
She was meant to be originally, which is why there's a persona that you get for maxing out her social link that looks suspiciously like it should belong to a character, rather than being one of the Shin Megami Tensei demons.
Okay. So, I mean, they do have a new character in the game, so they might. I mean, I'm not hoping that the story ends up worse in service of adding a new party member, but I suppose it's possible.
It seems like they're doing it better this time around, just
let's
from
hope
what I've
so.
played now. Of course, from what I...
Comment section, you've already played and beaten the game. How wrong are we? Please like, comment, and subscribe.
And ring that bell.
Yes, for more notifications on the Gravity Rush playthrough, we will be continuing. Oh, hi, trees.
Did those shadows just pop in?
Yeah.
Shadows themselves just popped in. That's great.
It is nice seeing some of the old characters from the first game. I know that you would be able to, you'd be able to get back in touch with them again if you did the side quests.
It's interesting.
In the second area.
It's interesting to see this kind of ending from Raven's perspective, though, because as far as we know, Raven hasn't had a huge relationship with any of the characters Kat has. But it's like she's making an effort to watch after the people that Kat was looking after. That's kind of touching.
Yeah.
And she's been doing it long enough that she has become familiar with them and they've become familiar with her. And that's charming. It would be a hell of a lot more charming if this were Gravity Rush 4, though.
And then they could make Gravity Rush Raven subtitle, and it would be a spin-off or whatever.
Raven the Hedgehog.
Before they bring Cat back in Gravity Rush 5, because everybody wants Cat back, because well, we were just talking about this with Dragon Ball last part.
I think this version of Raven post ending feels like she has the foundation of being a standalone character, which is not something that I would have said I felt like I got from Raven before this.
Oh yeah, you were talking about that earlier in the playthrough, where you thought that she was only defined by
Not necessarily
her
defined
connection
by,
to
but
Kat.
more interesting when Kat was next to her, bouncing off of her buddy cop style. It feels like there's a texture to Raven's personality now that wasn't there before, though. It's interesting, actually.
Yeah, so I mean, there's avenues they could continue if they ever do get Gravity Rush 3. It's just
Oh God!
they didn't
I thought
they
you
didn't
were
need to
dead.
No, he didn't die.
Oh Jesus! Does he do the face before this is over?
I don't know.
Please do the face.
Dude, this is my first time watching this in like 3 years.
So how do you play as Cat once
It just brings you up into the game before you go climb the tower.
Uh,
When we were talking to the glowy girl and said you won't be able to come back for a while if you go with her, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you just go back to that point.
Oh, okay.
right. So the sandbox.
He didn't do the Poggers face.
So the
I'm taking your box.
So the post-game content all has to be handled in a time state that's frozen before the final area, huh?
Yeah,
it's one of
basically.
those.
I mean, a lot of games do that, and if it's the only way it makes sense, it's the only way it makes sense.
Yeah.
Not much you can do about that from a game perspective.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense to allow the player to continue after the final dungeon or final boss. So yeah, you have to just sort of
Rewind the clock a little
yeah.
bit.
I mean, I think it would be cool if they let you keep on playing as Raven, but then a lot of the side stories probably wouldn't make
Wouldn't make
sense.
any sense. Yeah.
It would be cool if they let you switch between Cat and Raven and had more side stories for Cat. You know.
Yeah, like you can, like if you do all of the side stories as Cat, then you can play as Raven, and then there's a few.
Kind of like Yakuza 4's Premium Adventure Mode, where during the main game you play basically 4 long chapters in order. Each one focuses on a different character. But after you beat the game, you can freely switch between the 4. And there are even side quests that involve the characters working together, like the traditional super boss fight against the Amon assassins, which every game needs to have for some reason. Man, even the pop idol girl in 5 has one of those, and yes, it's a dance battle. I don't know why.
There's a dance battle final boss.
No, there's a dance battle super boss against one of the Amon assassins who apparently isn't allowed to fight because she's a girl, so she does a dance battle with you instead.
That's awesome. Wait, was Cat not dead the entire time?
We don't know.
Let's see. Is this one of those like... Oh, she keeps thinking that she can hear or see Cat, and then she looks into the camera and looks relieved.
And we
And we never find out for sure.
What the
That
hell was?
okay.
that was Hermes saying, now that makes even less sense.
Oh God.
I mean, they gotta leave things open
That's
enough.
but you see,
Yeah.
that's like okay. We had kind of a unique ending going on, semi-unique anyway. It's not something that I've never seen, but it's something that I haven't quite seen in this particular shape and form. And then of course we end on like one of the most cliche of cliches. So you blew it.
Yeah.
You blew it, game. You just had to go there, didn't you?
Yeah, as I said, this ending third of 2 is really disappointing and awkward. The gameplay is still good, and I still would like to see this return, but with an obvious, just drop all the ongoing plot thread stuff, just kind of start fresh, I guess.
If I were to do it, honestly, what I would do is I would actually remake the first game and then remake the second game as the 3 games that it was meant to be. And call it just Gravity Rush Complete or something. I don't know. I'm bad at titles.
Yeah, well, regardless, that's the end of the Gravity Rush content, unless they ever decide to make another one. It's a little bit disappointing, but it is what it is. We appreciate you guys all watching, and stay tuned for whatever we have next. If you're watching this on a playlist later, click something else.
Do it, coward. And ring the fucking bell while you're at it, pussy.
Good night, all.